A new report from Amnesty International says Hamas has committed war crimes. As a top administration official says, Hamas has to go as the White House pushes for Hamas to disarm. All of that amid new allegations Hamas has also withheld key supplies during the crisis in Gaza. CBN's Paul Petit brings us the story. He's reporting from Jerusalem.
This video shows mounds of baby formula hoarded and hidden by Hamas for months, according to a Gazan activist. Ahmed Fouad Alkhatib posted the footage on X, accusing the terror group of deliberately withholding supplies during the worst days of Gaza's hunger crisis. The video stands in stark contrast to the Palestinian narrative repeated by the global media that Israel pursued genocide in Gaza, a message that helped fuel anti-Semitism worldwide. Inside the Trump administration, officials are considering terrorism-related sanctions against UNRWA, the relief agency for Palestinians. A senior State Department official says everything is on the table, calling the UN agency corrupt with a track record of aiding and abetting terrorists. UNRWA operates across Gaza, the West Bank, Lebanon, Jordan, and Syria, providing aid and services to millions of Palestinians. In a first, Amnesty International released a report accusing Hamas of crimes against humanity, including murder and torture on October 7th and inhumane treatment of hostages held in Gaza. The report says Palestinian terrorists killed the vast majority of civilians that day and prevents evidence of physical and sexual violence against hostages. It also urges the return of the remains of the last hostage. On the diplomatic front, President Donald Trump is delaying his announcement of the new Board of Peace, the group tasked with post-war management of Gaza, until after Christmas.
And the Board of Peace it'll be one of the most legendary boards ever. Basically, it'll be the heads of the most important countries.
The International Stabilization Force could start with just one or two countries, with others joining later. Some diplomats say the delay shows foreign partners are hesitant about taking on the disarmament of Hamas. Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar raised that concern in Washington, with his U.S. counterpart Marco Rubio saying any attempt to dilute Hamas's obligation to disarm should not be accepted. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu echoed that message this week.
You've got to get rid of Hamas. Now, that is going to happen in one of two ways. It could happen with an international force that the United States is trying to put together, and I hope they succeed. And if not, as President Trump has said, and I've said, it can be done the easy way or the hard way. The hard way is that we'll have to do it.
And in his first visit to Israel, U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Mike Waltz said Washington will not allow Hamas to rebuild, declaring the terror group has to go. Paul Petit, CBN News, Jerusalem.
And our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell is joining us now to continue our coverage. So, Chris, the issue of Hamas refusing to disarm seems like it simply will not go away. Where does Israel's government believe this is going to go?
Well, I think from Israel's perspective, Hamas's refusal to disarm leaves just one of two outcomes, and they both lead to a confrontation, not less. Israel believes that Hamas is stalling and trying to rebuild, and they see that Hamas's refusal to give up the weapons is just proof they're just trying to buy time, rearm, and preparing for the next round of fighting. And here in Jerusalem, it seems that Hamas is, they see disarmament as existential. In other words, if they give up their arms, they won't be able to exist as an organization anymore. So I believe Israel expects a renewed military operation if Hamas continues to hold out. The IDF is really the only entity right now that is right there beside Hamas. They control about 53% of the Gaza Strip, and the only one, there won't be any of the other nations that refuse to go in there, like, say, the UAE or Saudi Arabia. So it looks like as they continue to say they will not disarm, that the IDF will be the ones that will have to go ahead and do that.
Does this Amnesty International report about Hamas's war crimes validate what the Israel's government has been saying about Hamas?
Yeah, very much so. And that's Israel's been saying that for almost the whole length of the war. It confirms what Israel's been saying about October 7th, the way Hamas says they had their methods, their intentions, their assertion here in Israel. Hamas's attack was a systematic massacre targeting non-combatants, especially you can go down to the Nova Music Festival site, and you see about 350 were literally slaughtered. It validates Israel's description of the hostage crisis as well. And so many of these hostages was mistreated, tortured, sexual violence. And it also matches what Israeli officials and the hostages and the families have been telling the world for more than 2 years, and reinforces Israel's argument Hamas uses terror as a governing strategy. And so Amnesty and the Israeli government, unlikely cooperation right now, but seem to be on the same side of what Hamas did on October 7th.
President Trump's peace plan calls for an international force inside Gaza. Why are some concerned Turkey wants to be a part of that force?
Well, Turkey wants a military presence on Israel's southern border. They also now have a presence to some degree on Israel's northern border because they're an ally of the new Syrian regime there. It would give Turkey a long-term leverage. It would actually, in some ways, turn the Trump plan on its head. Right now, it seems like Turkey and Qatar, and we saw this at the Doha Forum just a few days ago, lobbying for Hamas in a way that would allow Hamas to survive, and they actually seem to be partners in Hamas's survival. What they would like to do is go to the next stage before Hamas is disarmed, and that would allow Hamas to survive. So it would be, and if you put foreign troops into Gaza before Hamas is disarmed, it's almost going to be impossible to go in there with those foreign troops. And on the one hand, it would leave the Saudis and the Emiratis, who would likely not go in if the Turkey troop goes in there. That's something that Israel said they won't allow. That's why the upcoming Trump-Netanyahu meeting is so important, since Netanyahu has said no to Turkish troops.
Why does Israel's Minister of Diaspora Affairs believe a war with Syria is inevitable?
Well, he was actually saying on X that there's zero difference between Syria's current president, al-Shara, and Yahya Sinwar, the head of Hamas. And he's responding to footage just a couple of days ago from the one-year anniversary of the Sunni Islamic Revolution that overthrew the regime of Bashar Assad. During that parade, there were chants of, "We will rise against you," meaning rise against Israel, "and from your blood rivers will flow. Gaza, Gaza, we're with you to the death. And one more, I'm marching towards you, my enemy." So Chikli sees an emergence of a jihadi state and a jihadist army, and he believes that al-Shara never really has changed his ideology, and why he believes this may lead to a confrontation and a war with the new Syrian regime.
Chris, how significant are these potential U.S. sanctions on the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, known to many as UNRWA?
Well, it could be unprecedented, and although many people in Congress think it's important to sanction UNRWA because of its incestuous relationship with Hamas, some people are saying UNRWA is Hamas and Hamas is UNRWA, so these sanctions could be unprecedented against this UN agency.